Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Deb. So great to be here.
It's so great to have you, and I want to thank you for taking this time to talk with me. I'm incredibly excited about your new book, and I'm really excited to hear more from you and share it with our Instagram pals. We are talking today about Woman on Fire, Lisa Barr's new book on March.
March 1st comes out on March 1st, but you can pre-order it now, but it's March 1st. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys, you probably, if you follow me at all, you have seen this on my account multiple times in my review, probably about 3 weeks ago, and my review is on Goodreads as well. I have said before, I am incredibly picky about thrillers, and I really don't read a lot of them because I find it very hard to be thrilled, and I really, really like a good plot. But I also search high and low for books with art, art centric, as I call them, and so Women on Fire is both. And I know many of you are familiar with Lisa. Her 2019 hit was The Unbreakables, which I have to admit I have not read. I will. And her book prior to that was Fugitive Colors. Do I have all? Is that the three that?
Yeah, you got it. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what I want to talk about first is to have Lisa give us her, 3 to 5 minute summary on Women on Fire. Tell us what it's about.
Okay, so I brought it as well. So Woman on Fire is about a savvy young journalist who gets embroiled in a major international art scandal centered around a Nazi looted painting. So it is historical, it's suspenseful, it's artful, and it really it's very risky journalistic pursuits and kind of all the things I love to write. And, as you may know, my background, I was an investigative journalist for, 25 years. So this was, for me, such a thrill to get in there, to go back, to write from a young journalist's perspective, as opposed to this seasoned author, but to really kind of go back to my roots. And I'm super excited about this book. And that's really it in a nutshell.
It's been gaining steam. I feel like I don't remember where I heard about it. I'm always like looking through publisher websites, and as we all do on Bookstagram, and I think, well, the cover is so. I hope, do you have any say, like, will this be the finished cover?
This is the finished cover.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I do have say, and we worked on it. It went through a couple different variations, but I'm super excited about this. I think it has all the elements I really wanted to get in. The top is the painting. The woman is kind of, I mean, you got to love that Meghan Markle bun. For me, I was like, yes. And then you have the historical background that, sort of in Berlin takes place, the Nazi background. So it hits all three areas that I conveyed in the book.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So I know, as I said, a lot of our readers know you for Unbreakables and The Unbreakables, and I'm not sure how much of a role art played in that book, but obviously Fugitive Colors, your first novel, a huge one. So clearly art is a passion of yours. Where did that begin? Whereas your background is really investigative journalism.
So a couple things. So I'm convinced that I must have been in my last life either a painter in Paris in the 1920s. I'm sure I was there somewhere. But in reality, I have always loved art. I mean, just as you had mentioned,
Mhm.
I would gravitate to books about art or anything having to do with art. And in the 1990s, I was the managing editor of a women's magazine, and I was sent on an assignment to the Art Institute. And it was this first exhibit covering degenerate art, which is art that the Nazis demonized in, Nazi Germany at the time. And so my personal background, my dad is a Holocaust survivor, and my grandma, really the one who got them through the war, was my very best friend and confidant. We had such a special relationship. And so sort of this fighter persona has been instilled in me since a very early age. So flash forward, I'm at this exhibit, and I realized that many in Hitler's inner posse were artists. And I was so struck by that. Like, how is someone both a murderer and had the sensitivities as an artist? And so I knew I needed to write something about this. Hitler and his cohorts went after the avant-garde with a vengeance that's never been seen before in history, particularly painters. So I really wanted to explore this. So I did 4 years of research for Fugitive Colors before I allowed myself to put pen to paper. And I really went full in into the art world and what was happening in 1930s Germany. And so that set the tone, or this was the setting for my first novel, Fugitive Colors. And as you mentioned, The Unbreakables is also about an artist, a sculptor. But in this book, I really wanted to focus on the here and now, but a painting that everyone was trying to find for various reasons, and that hasn't been seen for over 75 years. And I don't know what it is, but the thread in all of my work is art, and probably the next one as well. So it just has me. I don't know what it is, but
That
it's
was
very
going to be my last question, but it's a really good segue right now.
yeah.
So I guess this question would be twofold. How did you write this during COVID? And if so, how did that kind of, I've heard both from authors. I've heard it was like, well, what else is there to do? I may as well write. And then I've also heard it was incredibly hard to focus. So I guess that's the first part of the question. The second is, are you
Yes.
working on something as we speak?
I think that's a great perception, because my author friends I know are completely divided in both categories, where it was so hard to focus. And to be fair, so many who had young kids, it was very hard to focus. For me, I'm an empty nester, so my kids all came home, but they were working with me at the kitchen table. So I was very focused on this novel, and sort of this dark, ominous setting of COVID really was a great, diving board for me to jump off and really go, head first into this, and to go. For me, it was a very, strong period of time for me to write. And so I was able to really work pretty much 7 days a week on this book. And as an author, you might have your new book coming out, but you're already working on your next one. And it's a lot of stop and starts because various rounds of edits come back to you. So yes, I am working on something new. And this time it's about an actress, and with an actress with a very secret, dark past, which also takes place during, under the Nazis. And this one is in the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. So it's an actress with a secret past. So I'm a research geek. I love it. And I'm very drawn to this period of time, but I love unraveling new things that took place. And so I'm very much enjoying writing this new book.
Well, one of the things, like I said, I am so picky about thrillers, and I always feel, I think one of the reasons is because it's so easy for me to say, this would never happen. This didn't, this is just silly. And this is a slice of time that I feel like that the degenerate, that period in history has gotten some very important and well-deserved legs lately in the literary world. I read Leonora in the Morning Light. I don't, the
Yeah.
Leonora Carrington and was it Max Ernst? Um, and really, like, it was one of these things that's in your consciousness, it happened, but until you read, I always say with fiction, with good fiction, it should produce empathy. And when you read about history in this manner, you have a different, it's just different than reading a historical text. It shouldn't be, but it is. And to kind of think, oh my gosh, look what happened to these families, and the art. And so it's a wonderfully woven tale. Like I said, it has
Appreciate
character, it
that.
has setting, it has history, and like I believe I said it in my review, like, bite your nails, edge of the seat ending. Can't
And
turn as fast.
right, and Deb, one thing I wanted to add is that in this novel, there's a lot of composite, types of characters who are based on real characters. This setting, the news hook, because I'm such a news junkie, is related to this art heist that actually a discovery in Munich of 1,500 works that were hidden in an apartment. And so I had used that story in the background of this book as well, which is all true, sort of inspired by those events. And I'm really big at finding things that are inspired by true events, obviously fictionalized, but, weaving this in. So you have history and you have truth and you have fictional characters who bring it to light. And that's kind of my wheelhouse.
So was Ernst Engel in your book spun off of Max Ernst in any way? I was like,
Great question. And only an artsy type would know that. So yes, in a way, Ernst Engel in my book he was the founder of expressionism, and obviously a fictional character, but a composite, and yes, of various artists in that time period. So Max Ernst being one of them, absolutely. And I did a lot of research in order to really capture that time period, especially in Fugitive Colors. And in this book, Ernst Engel is the artist behind this masterwork. Ernst Engel was murdered by the Nazis, and yet his painting, Woman on Fire, lives on. And so, I was able to incorporate various points of history within that.
It's really well done. And it's you learn something, which is always a wonderful aside to a great thriller. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this reads, I think, like it would make an incredible motion picture. It would be, it would just, I think, and I don't know anything about that world, adapt to screen well. Do you have any hopes of that?
Yes, of course I do. I would love that. And, we being my team, we are looking into that with the hopes of that. I mean, that would be wonderful. And I think it's been such a great trend in our industry, how many books to film are being made. And I don't know if it's a COVID thing and you have these ready-made, beautiful books, that people are kind of pulling material from, but it really is wonderful to see this happening in our book community. So
I'm very hard on book to movie adaptations. When you love a book, there's nothing more disheartening than to see it adapted and it doesn't live up, and that happens a lot.
Sure.
I don't know if it ever has anything to do with the author being able to stay kind of in the production of it, but I did, as I read this, and it's not often, but I thought, gosh, this would be an exciting and visually beautiful movie. So
thank you. so much.
Fingers crossed.
From your mouth to
I
yours. I hope that happens.
we won't say anything
Yeah.
more. Okay, so I love to ask authors about their reading life. So, kind of who do you love to pick up? Who do you gravitate towards reading? And what are you reading now? Do you have any book recommendations?
So believe it or not, it's a hard question to ask an author because we have a lot of friends that we want to promote. So usually, I will give you that, but usually what I do for that question is I kind of tell you or show you the books that are on my nightstand permanently. So I brought those if you want them, but I will also tell you a few books. So first, the one I've been kind of blabbing all over town, I loved Bathhouse by P.J. Vernon. I loved it. It was a thriller. It was fabulous. The author's fabulous. The writing was incredible. So I love that. I just read a new book that's coming out, The Maid by Nita Prose, and I thought it was fabulous. Let's see. I loved Hank Felipe Ryan's new book. I'm having a blank. I wrote this down. Her Perfect Life.
Okay.
Wonderful. And he gets that from me by a good friend of mine, Jacqueline Friedland. Great books, different genres. And I've just kind of read those. And so highly recommend them all. And just if you want, I could show you what's on my nightstand and what's inspired.
We would love it. We would love it.
So my first is The Outsiders. I've had this chewed up copy forever, dog-eared copy by Essie Hinton. Another would be The Diary of Anne Frank. This is what made me become a writer, The Diary of Anne Frank. And
so well, that's one of the books that I remember reading and being so moved by as a, I guess probably middle school. I don't know if that's when you read it. And I just always hope it's a book that we as Americans never stop reading.
Thank you. I completely agree. And of course, the author that influenced me to love suspense and thrillers, and I had every single one, but I just brought you one, Nancy Drew.
Oh,
I had every single one. This is the Moonstone Castle Mystery.
Oh,
and yeah. And then lastly, Erica Jong, The Fear of Flying.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Fear of Flying. And this is, she was my literary crush. And on the 30-year anniversary of this book, I was able to interview her, which was wonderful.
So. Oh, a dream come true.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the best parts of this, Bookstagram community is author accessibility. I'm always blown away by the receptive nature of, it's really a symbiotic relationship we all have to have. I mean, I know authors are like, we need you, but it's just so wonderful to have connected with you and to have, connected with the book. If you guys want to see it one more time, definitely put this on your, pre-order it, or I know pre-orders are wonderful for authors, but it's not that much longer. 4 more months or so.
Yeah. But, and I just want to thank you because what you do for authors is immeasurable. Like you, the Bookstagram community, all your support, the book love, it means so much to me. And I know so much to authors. So thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome. I always say book geeks get it. Like to
book geeks get it.
Yeah, to open. I always reach in my mailbox if I know I've requested a book, because I don't request a lot of books. I only request what I know I want to read. I'm never going to be one that says just send me a book, and if I get it, if I receive it, I'm going to read it and I'm going to review it. So I try to work, that the few contacts I make and have, that they know that it's going to be like, yes, we are going to get a review. And when I opened this, I was like,
Oh, that means a lot to me.
You
Thank
be
you.
such you be such a lovely person, and we've had this connection. It's been, and we both have 3 daughters.
Three daughters, baby.
Yeah,
Drama Central.
yeah, it's the absolute best.
It
But
is
they
the
must
best.
be very proud of their mom.
I'm very proud of them, and I'm very lucky to be their mom. So thank you.
So too. Well,
Yeah.
the last thing I'll say is, what is your um, trajectory for book 4?
Uh, Not known yet,
Okay.
so that's still out. But I've got a long road. This book's coming off, coming out in March and
Yep.
all that. But we'll, take it as it comes.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully, you'll get to do a real life book tour.
I hope so. I'm planning for it. But
Right.
during these times, you just never know.
I
So,
know. It is true.
but
It is true.
but
You just have to be able to roll with it. Well,
roll.
Lisa, thank you so much. We're all really looking forward to this, and it's been absolutely lovely to learn more
Thank
about
you.
it.
Thanks for having me, Deb. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay.